Hi everyone, I'm Tanya Ross of TDR Academy of Movement and Therapy, and today's stretching session is a little bit different to some of the others that we've done recently, in that we're going to focus on particular areas of the body and we're going to use 3 stretches for those particular areas. So for example, we're going to target hip flexors, so we're going to do 3 stretches for that specific area, and we're going to be in and around a minute. If your timing leaves yourself, please don't fault me. It's a vague minute. It's somewhere in and around there. It might be a little bit over, hopefully not too much under, but certainly it's around about that area. And when you're going through these stretches, your focus point on the way through is whatever stretching works. So find a comfortable discomfort. Find that level where you're challenging the stretch. Hold it. Hold it there and breathe. Even if you're actively pulling into a stretch, so you're doing, in yoga it's a bit more yang-like and just stretching, you're being more physical, you're being more contractile in those stretches. So if you're contracting into those stretches and you take a breath in and breathe out, you can still relax within that, or you can find that room to progress it a little bit further. And that's what I want you to do. Do you want to just rest and relax depending on how you're feeling and use the out breath to sink and melt into a position or grow further? So it becomes like that minute is not a static minute. You are trying to develop over the course of that minute deeper into the stretch. But if you're just melting into it, then again, you might just soften, you might just let the body kind of drift a little bit deeper into it. So you have your choice to be active, or you can be as relaxed and meltable as possible, if that's a word. So without further ado, we're going to bring you into the stretches. So I want you to get yourself into a comfortable position, lying down on your back. And once you're there, just let the eyes close and let the body relax for a wee moment. And we're going to bring you into our session from there. Enjoy. So coming into that long body position, the legs out long and straight, bringing the arms slowly up and over, taking it into that long stretch, reaching up with the ribs opening up, reaching up with every part of the body to lengthen and open. And then slowly bringing the ribs down and bringing the arms down and starting to draw the legs in. And as you draw the legs in, take one knee in for a hug. And then lengthen the other leg out. So just that soft stretch, just sussing out where that knee is happy to go to. And then we're going to mobilize around the hip. So I want you to take the knee out away from the body line, taking it out to the side. And as you take it out to the side, left hip can go to the left hand if the right leg is open, to try to keep the hips squared off to the ceiling. And then continue the leg on round so that the foot comes to the inside of the knee. And we're going to just take a little pause there. So trying to let the knee relax to the floor, so it's drifting into that external rotation. The pelvis still trying to stay mostly facing straight up. So wherever that leg can relax to, it's allowing the body to find, again, length and space. Noticing if there's any areas that are maybe talking to you a little bit more than others. And breathing into those areas. Breathing in deeply. And as you breathe out, use that as your trigger, your instigator to relax something else in the body. Starting to draw the belly button in towards your spine. You're going to draw the knee across the body from there. So just leaving that foot low, rather than picking the knee up again, just let the leg cross over the body, and you're going to take it through. So you're starting to bring that outer hip stretch, just opening the arms out to the side. And you can hug that knee as if you're pulling it further across the body, almost trying to lengthen that thigh out of the hip socket. And maybe even noticing from there, can you rotate the ribs back to the right again? Take a big deep breath. And then slowly draw that knee back into center. Give it a hug in towards you again, and then pop it onto the floor. We're then going to draw that left leg up in towards you again, that hug of the left leg, settling the lengthen through the back of the neck as well as into the tail. And then start to slide the right leg away from you. Again, trying to keep that knee drawn in. And then we're going to circle it out away from the body. So as you take that left knee out to the left side, whether that right hand goes to the hip, so you're taking it out to the side to get that stretch first of all. Squaring those hips off. And then allow that leg to continue on round so that the foot comes to the inside of the right knee. And then try to encourage that left knee to relax and drop. Just to sit with that for a moment. Does it feel like the ribs have arched off? Can you keep length again in through the back and in through the back of the neck? If any parts of the body again are talking to you in that position, take a breath. And use the out breath to relax something. And then slowly starting to draw your belly button towards your spine, just to scoop that knee across the body, and as it comes across, use that right hand to try to almost lengthen that thigh away from the hip socket. Left arm open to the side, and you can have that head turning in the opposite direction, looking to the left. And then slowly, I'm going to roll on to the back, draw that knee in for a hug again. And then scoop the other one up, hugging both knees. You can clasp the hands and just that little rock off the hips side to side. Okay, so we're going to roll up into seated. So whether you're holding onto the back of both thighs or just a single leg, roll it up into seated. And once we get there, we're going to start off, we're going to work into the front of the hips initially. So the likes of if you have been sitting a lot through the week, then this is going to target some of those muscles that will shorten through there. So in terms of that position, we'll do our couch stretch. So you can choose which side you want to start with. I'm taking my left leg forward, right knee on the floor. If you need a pillow underneath your knee, you can pop it underneath there. So we're going to drop the tailbone down. And as you drop the tailbone down, as if you're like overly flattening the back and pulling the pubic bone up, then starting to come forwards. If you don't have the flat back, you're going to drift an awful lot further. So I want you to keep that notion of staying totally flat backed and then coming forwards from there as you get that stretch at the front of the hips. So we're going to take it in to holding these stretches for about a minute. So it's setting yourself up for those holds. And once you're in that position, it's like a game of musical statues. How still can you stay? But at the same time, if you get a window where it feels like something gets a little bit easier, like maybe the sensation of the stretch doubles down, that you become a little bit more tolerant of that position, then feel free to increase that position a little bit more, either by flattening the back more or by pressing a little bit further forward with that back hip, moving the body weight slightly forward, so that hopefully, again, you take it to that edge of what is that comfortable discomfort in the stretch. It's not too much of a challenge, you're not screaming in that position, but you're taking it to that point where it's a challenge, but it's a comfortable challenge. So that hopefully, like you might get those little fluctuations where it feels stretchy and then it eases, and then you add in and then it feels stretchy and then it eases again. And whenever you're going through that process, hopefully you do notice that you're getting a little bit further. So we're going to slowly draw out from there, and we're going to take it on to the other side. So you can switch the legs over. Again, if you need a pillow underneath the knee, you can use it there, depending if the knees aren't happy to be on a harder floor. So that drop down of the tailbone. And if this feels unstable, make sure your feet are as if they're on train tracks, knee and foot on train tracks, so that you have that width for stability. But that long back, and then as the hips come forwards, hopefully again noticing that stretch high up on the front of that hip, on the back leg. So it's finding that comfortable discomfort again. So we're in that stretch for about a minute. Breathing into it. Breathing's always good when you're holding stretches, because you want to relax as much in the body as you can. So you're not resisting, you're not fighting it, you're not gripping into stretches. Wherever you can take it to. Remember those little increments as and when you can. Everyone's different, so you might get further, you might not, just depending how tight those things feel for you. And then slowly from there, we're going to draw you back out. So the next one that we're taking it into, we're still going to tackle the hips, so we're coming back onto your first hip. So for me, that was left leg forward, so if you were going with me, and then the right leg in behind. So again, we're doing 3 stretches targeting the front of the hip. So this one now is focused just that little bit higher almost. So you're bending that front leg, and if you need a pillow, you can pop a pillow underneath the calf and the thigh if that feels it's too deep a knee bend. And then from there, trying to lengthen the back leg. So the easier position or softer is to have the leg out straight. If you can tuck the toes under on the ball on that straight leg, and then lift the knee up. So that will increase the C bend, if you like, at that front of the hip. So you're trying to keep the body upright. Lengthening it, lowering it down will make it a lesser stretch, but again, you have to find your level. The more you reach through that back heel, the more you try to press that hip down towards the floor, which might even start to rotate you towards that front thigh. So it's finding your level again, that comfortable discomfort, and holding it for the guts of that minute. And as always with a lot of stretches, we don't want to just completely relax through the core position, so you're wanting to keep a little sense of that pulled up and in, because that way then it helps to keep the back in that flatter space. So that we really are focusing in onto that psoas stretch. Melting into it as and where you can. And then slowly releasing from there. I'm going to take you on to the other side. So again, switching it over. If you need a pillow between the calf and the thigh, you can pop it in there so it reduces that down a little. And then from there, back leg, again, maybe this side's different. Back leg out straight, or maybe the toes are tucked under and that knee is lifting off. The body position is tall. The core is pulling in as if it's pulling up above that hip bone to pull up through the tummy muscles. And then you can decide whether you need to press that left hip a little bit closer to the floor. So you're opening up that twist, that stretch. Reaching through the back heel, pulling up inside. Melting in wherever you feel that you can. To progress the stretch as you feel you can. Again, trying to breathe easy into it. And then slowly starting to draw out of that position. And we're going to bring it into our third stretch for the front of the hip. So we're going to take that slightly deeper lunge. So the left leg is coming forwards and we're opening up through that back hip. Now with this, roughly with the heel underneath the knee, because our focus is into this back hip. And what we're going to use is just that little bit of a sideward drift. So again, you're going to have a pillow underneath that knee if you need it. Both hands are on the inside of that front leg. And I want you to imagine that you're trying to sink that hip towards the floor. Maybe you're pressing that hip towards the floor, which might make you rotate a little bit again. So you can decide, does it feel better for you to be straight forwards? Does it feel better to have that little bit of a twist to the side? But you're still actively pulling up on the idea of your core again. Maybe even a little sense that that front leg is helping to pull you further forwards. Maybe the body position needs to be a little bit taller. Trying to find lengthen through your back, shoulder blades pulling down. So rather than being rounded, trying to find that length, that elongation, that pressing forwards and through. And again, melting in where you feel like it's possible to go. And then slowly starting to drift back out from the stretch, push in through that front foot to draw you back. We're going to switch it over onto the other side. Again, as you bring that right leg forwards, you're trying to bring the knee roughly above the ankle, opening up through that back hip, both hands to the inside of that front leg, so that again, maybe there's a little twist as you try to push the hip towards the floor. So you might rotate a little bit towards that front leg. Maybe you prefer to stay straight ahead. Maybe that front leg is pulling you forwards into the stretch to allow you to sink a little bit more into that hip on the left. And there's a lot of maybes because who knows what you're feeling, but you have to find your own way into it. And again, whether it's breathing, whether it's actively pulling, whether it's pressing into a stretch, or whether you're just trying to relax and sink a little bit deeper. Can you lengthen your back a little bit more? And then slowly from there, we're going to draw you out again. So as we draw it out, we're going to take you into child's pose, just as a little in between. So you can have the knees about the width of your mat, just a little bit wider than shoulder width. And reach the arms forward and allow the body to fold. Kind of rock a little bit side to side, just a little bit of rolling through the thighs. The arms are just doing a little bit of work there, so you can reach them long just to stretch on the underarms as well. Take a big deep breath in, and as you breathe out, just walking the hands back, almost rolling the spine, coming up into seated. We're going to bring you into a little bit more into the outer thighs this time. Okay, so again, for example, if you've been sitting a lot, or just depending, a lot of aches can tend to happen on that outer hip side. So we're going to bring you into figure of 4, and we're going to do it in 3 different positions. Okay, so the first one we're going to take is lying down. So you can bring yourself down, and we're going to cross the right leg over the left, keeping the foot flexed. So that figure of 4 leg, the bent leg, so I don't necessarily want you to push on the knee because then that can torque the knee a little bit, but you're going to think about actively using your own muscles to keep the knee open, Then you can reach through. If that doesn't feel like that's enough, then you're reaching through to take a hold of that left thigh. So arm reaching through the center and the outside, and then drawing the leg in towards you. So you can decide in terms of what feels like that comfortable level for you. So we're holding in this position again, that knee on its own right is actively pressing out or it's trying to relax depending on how that's feeling. Breathing, again, relaxing into it. Or maybe you prefer to use that activity, and that activity might be, again for you, holding that knee, pressing it open, kind of finding more lengthen through the back of the neck and through the tailbone. So you're actively growing your spine taller. If you feel like it might be an addition that you want to use, you could straighten the other leg. But again, it doesn't have to. It's whatever feels like it's a better position for you, so that you're active in it. Maybe it doesn't feel comfortable to hold that leg, so the other leg might be working. Maybe you're holding into the figure of 4 foot. So make it your own, as long as you feel that stretch coming into that outer hip. And maybe you're progressing it over that time. Slowly from there, we're going to lower down and we're going to switch it to the other side. A minute flies by when you're having fun. So we're going to cross the foot over. And as you cross it over, again, actively using your own knee to press out. If you need to go further, then again, you can draw that right leg up, maybe reaching through, taking a hold of that thigh, trying to relax the upper body on the floor. I should imagine if you don't feel like you could get the body relaxed on the floor, you can certainly use pillows to prop the head and shoulders up if that feels it's too strong. Otherwise, if that's too much to lift the leg, you could put books or blocks underneath the foot to lift it up to a level that feels comfortable. Okay, so again, it's finding your level. Where's that comfortable discomfort? Can you find lengthen through your back? Can you find length through your neck? If you're being active, you're drawing in deeper to that position, actively using the legs. If you're relaxing, you're breathing, you're trying to settle your position. What works well for you? If you want to gain that option to straighten the other leg, you can choose to be active or not. Can you feel how you can develop into that position just a little bit more? And then slowly starting to release the legs. And once the feet are on the floor, if it feels good to take your windscreen wipers just as a little bit of a reset, just depending how strong that has felt for you in between. So after a few to each side, once you find your way back into the middle, okay, so again, you can hug one leg, roll it up into seated, so a little bit of a swing, draw the chin in to roll it up. So we're going to bring you into a floor-based version on that one. So you're going to use, let's see, we're going to go with the right leg first if we keep it in that same rhythm. So we're going to draw the shin. If you're facing the top end of your mat, the shin is level with the front of the mat, okay? And once you're there, foot is flexed, again, just to keep the knee a little bit safer. And whether that back knee stays in, whether it goes out, that will depend on how strong the sensation feels for you. You're trying to turn your shoulders to face straight ahead. You can hold on to the foot, and then you're trying to lower the body down. So still trying to keep a long back. So maybe it's upright for you, trying to keep that sense of almost lifting and lengthening the body over the leg. Or maybe you need to fold it down, or maybe you're moving the body away from the foot or towards the foot. Towards the foot will increase it, away from the foot will reduce it down. So as you're going through those positions, trying to figure your way through it, but you should feel it on the grounded hip. You should feel it in through there. So again, that right angle on the front leg, with the knee flush with that top edge of your mat, and then folding the body down. It's like a very poor version of a split. And then down. Yeah. So once you find your position, again, that front knee, definitely a right angle on it, because that's what helps to keep you that little bit deeper into that position. It gets it more into the hip with that rotation. So just knowing what level is that for you? How close to the floor can you take your body? That's not the end goal. The end goal is what you feel. That comfortable discomfort, being active in the body to draw yourself in, or just trying to relax and settle. And then slowly from there, starting to walk the hands up. We're going to bring you to the other side. So you bend that back leg in and just allow the legs to switch. So again, a very pretty design split, but with that front leg, again, about that right angle at the knee, trying to get the body squared to face forward, and then decide where can that back leg go, along with the body position, wherever you can get to, holding onto that foot, trying to lower the body. So it's making sure you feel one leg forward and one leg behind. And again, that awareness, the stretch hopefully should be in and around that outer hip. Can you lengthen the body a little bit more? Can you deepen the body down? Can you move the body a little bit more towards your front foot? And then slowly again starting to grow the body back up again. And as we bring both legs forwards, just that little rock again, side to side, those windscreen wipers. Again, very often if we're putting stress on a position into one form of rotation, it's good to play with the other. So we're then going to switch it and we're going to take it into your figure of four in seated, okay? So we're going to draw the foot in and across. So in this position, you've got two options about where you want to go. So again, with the foot across, the flex foot, you could be supporting the leg, and maybe from there, you're drifting the body forward. So I don't want you to be really slumped. If you need to be sitting on blocks or anything, or pillows at this point, you can be. But you're trying to sit tall and then take it forward. Maybe you're supporting just again with the arms, whatever way feels that you can to draw your body into that forward position. If you want, the other option would be leaning back, using your arms to press your body position tall, and then sliding the other leg in towards you. So the active leg, that active figure of four leg is pressing open, the toes are actively pulling to your shin. So whichever of those versions feels like it's best for you, you can take it in through there. There's a little bit more postural work in the first one. Your arms are assisting in this one. So again, depending that comfortable discomfort, whatever it feels like is being targeted into that outer hip, lengthening through the back will increase it. Almost trying to sit taller. Drawing the heel in towards you will increase it. So it's finding which feels like it's the appropriate level of discomfort. Breathing, trying to, I'm not going to say melt on this one because that doesn't necessarily help, but it's trying to grow taller on this one. And then slowly from there, releasing through that leg. And we're going to take it on to the other side. So again, you can experiment. We'll take that first one first. So the foot across, foot is flexed, whether your arms are around or in front, trying to bring the body position in long. Maybe getting that into that outer hip. Maybe this side feels like it prefers that one. Or you can tip it back again. Arms doing the work, helping the posture to stay tall, and then drawing up. So whichever version feels like it taps into that outer hip. And again, each out breath might bring a sense of a release. Whether you're being actively involved in the stretch or whether you're trying to relax, each out breath can be a sense of trying to go that little bit further each time. Again, can you just delve that little bit further? And then slowly starting to release. And again, as you bring the legs down, just those windscreen wipers again. Doesn't matter what width your feet are, just let the legs move whatever way feels good to move. Okay, so we're going to bring it into the lower back a little bit more. So with this position, first of all, we're going to take it a little bit more towards the mid back. So if you imagine, we're kind of going to work our way down. So we're going to start with the feet around about shoulder width, maybe a little bit wider apart. So this is going to get from between the shoulder blades and down. So you can be holding on to the outside edges of the feet, and your ribs are pulling in, your chin is just nodding forward, and you're trying to stay relatively active in this one in the sense that your core is pulling you in, your feet are pushing into your hands, and your knees are pressing out against your upper arms, your elbows. So it's almost trying to pull the shoulder blades apart as you press the elbows wide. As your feet push into the arms, it draws the shoulder blades forward, which starts to put a little bit more stretch below the blades. And as you roll those ribs in and back, then that's also trying to lengthen that segment of the back. So as you're holding through there, again, our focus is to hold that for around about that minute. You can take your breaths with this one. The breath can also be used as part of the activity on this one. So the breath in will expand through the ribs, and the breath out will maybe soften that space to allow you to deepen either by pulling the ribs back a little bit more, or maybe pushing the feet into the hands a little bit more. Being very active. And the more you're able to sink back into it, it might just switch how you feel that stretch a little bit more. The more you push your feet into your hands, the more it also might tweak it a little bit more. And then slowly from there, starting to release the hands, starting to release the push from the feet. And I want you to grow the spine tall after that. Take the hands in behind, that little bit of a counter stretch. Fingers pointing out sideways, feet relaxed, and just lifting up through the chest, squeezing the upper arms together, lifting the chest and opening. Okay, so it's just that little counter stretch. So to take it a little bit deeper into the low back, so we're going to use a long leg position. So in terms of that, you can bring the feet around about hip to shoulder width apart, and we're going to use a rounding action on the back. So with this, sometimes this can be a bit nervy. So we don't want to tap into nervy sensations, but if you feel it, you have the choice to kind of pull back from that. So in essence, lifting up tall. So you're trying to hinge through the hips to wherever you can. Then you're going to allow the back to round, allow the head to drape. If you want to use pillows for support or bolsters, you can, or whether the arms, depending how deep you can get, whether the arms are rested on the legs on top of each other to let the head fold. But if you find that taking it into that, you do start to get a nervy sensation at all, you can always lift the head, which will release part of it. So it's finding where you can get to get the stretch. It is going to be up through the back of the legs. If you allow the knees to soften, it'll allow the back to go a little bit further. But you can kind of choose with this one, where can you get to? The more the arms reach forward again to the feet, the more that's going to continue to pull those muscles which are connecting onto the pelvis up further up the back. So that's another option, is to reach long. And again with your breath in there, allowing the breath to open and expand all of the areas. Imagine you're breathing into your lower back. When you breathe out, you're sinking. And again, if you've had to maybe draw the head up out of a position because of a nervy sensation, it's maybe just dabbling and testing. If you drop the chin again, does it bring the nervy sensation back, or can it now be tolerated? And then slowly from there, just allowing the head to lift, and then use the hands, walk the body back up again. So we're going to bring you, to kind of continue that lengthening, we're going to bring it into child's pose this time. So as we bring it into child's pose, you have your choice, depending on where in your back you want to target. When you're in your child's pose, if you want to bring it more down the sides and into the back, then the knees go wide. If you want to keep it into this center position, then the knees are more together as you're letting the back round it out. You still want to be able to reach long with the arms in both positions so that it really pulls on the muscles that are connecting down into the pelvis. So this needs to be an active stretch. So no matter which version that you're in, how far can you reach? And that cue, if you like, that every out breath, if you gain a little bit of space in some way, can you creep a little bit further? Can you imagine that you're lengthening your tailbone, pulling it further away from your fingertips? The breath may add to it. Again, those deep breaths, filling into the lower back, opening up those spaces. And every out breath, if that allows you to maybe get that a little bit further, take it. If letting the head relax down a little bit more, maybe it's resting onto the floor, let that happen. If it feels like you want to add the hands coming in closer together, again, that's another option. If you feel that you want to try to delve a little bit further, it may feel like it pulls it a little bit more underarm, but all of those muscles are connecting down into the pelvis. And then slowly, starting to walk the hands back, allowing the spine to kind of curl as you're drawing it up. So we're going to bring you into, again, another counter stretch just after that. So if we bring you with the legs out in front, and again, the fingers pointing out to the side, just allow the chest to open. just to get that sense that a little bit of mobility in through not only the lower back to take the pelvis into that arch position, but to lift the chest up. And then slowly releasing. So we're going to add on to that one, because we can work straight down through the back, but very much things can be one-sided. So we're going to do just one more with that one, and I'm going to give you a choice as to which way you want to work it. So you can either come back into child's pose if that feels like it's the nicest position for you to be in for the walks of the hands to the side. But if you want to add in a different level to that, then you could come into the wide leg position, because either one is going to target down the sides. The wide leg position is going to be stronger, so you can choose whichever one. If you want to go child's pose again, whether your knees are together or apart, you can be reaching those arms long and then taking them to the side. So again, if we're coming into that wide straddle, we're going to be taking it up on the side and taking it into a side bend. But again, it's not so much, I don't mind what position the legs are in. They don't have to be fully wide. It's wherever you're going to be able to kind of sit forwards into it. So maybe the knees are softened. Maybe you're putting pillows or towels or something underneath the knees to soften them down for you to be able to come forward to reach to get that long stretch down your side. So you can choose whichever of those feels like it's going to work best for you. And again, we're going to do roughly about that minute on each side. So again, find your space, settle into it, and then find the length. What do you need to do? Is it a bent arm? Is it a straight arm? Where do you need to go to get that pull down one side of the body? If you're in the wide leg position, again, the legs are not the focus. Can you be a little bit more forward? So we're really trying to lengthen from those lower ribs towards the pelvis. That's what we're trying to target. If it feels like whichever version that you're in, if you need to rotate the body in some way as well, just finding wherever it needs to be. Maybe the hands on the floor, wherever they need to be. Figure it out. What information is your body telling you? Where do you need to be? Very slowly. Starting to reverse the arms, bringing them back towards the center, and then starting to bring the body back into a straight line through the sides of the body and the shoulders. And then once you're there, start to drift it over. So again, you can alter the position. So if you're in child's pose, you can stay there and then start to reach long and reach across to the other side. Otherwise, if you're in that wide leg position, arm up and then reaching. Maybe it's reaching through that top arm. Again, try to take the legs out of it in some way. Can you come forwards a little bit more to start to get that pull into that other side? So again, if child's pose, where do you need to reach those arms? Where do you need to be to find that pull? Imagine it's coming from the lower ribs towards the pelvis. Every breath that you take is a chance to expand the area. And then again, as you breathe out, maybe that's a chance for you to either pull into the position a bit more or to melt this time. If the melting does work, it can help you to sink a little bit deeper. And if anything moves and changes, if you need to change it, if you need to change your arm position, just listen to what your muscles are telling you and play with it. Where do you need to go? Where do you need to be? And then slowly, starting to reverse the hands, walking back in. And we're going to finish with stretches just to get the spine moving in the opposite direction. So you can draw those legs back in. And if you have a pillow or a block, whatever you want to use, And depending on how this feels, so if this feels really mild to you, you can always go with a higher pillow or a higher side of your block. But it's bringing it so that it's opening up that prominent rib area, so where your chest bone meets the divide of the ribs. You want that area to be projecting upwards as well as the chest bone. So if one doesn't feel like it's enough, then go with a second. If the head isn't happening to be arching back, then put a pillow underneath the head as well. So it's trying to figure out where do you need to be to get the chest opening, to get that sense of the arch in through the back. Now with the knees bent up, that will help to a certain extent to allow the tailbone to drop to the floor. And if you want to take the butterfly, that's always an option in this position, that it can help you to arch a little bit more in through the back. Arms, just take them wherever it feels good, whether by your sides, whether out fully, T position, or I surrender arms. Not straining, but just relaxing through the arms, allowing the chest to stay open. And if you want to work a little bit stronger with this one, almost trying to open the range a little bit deeper, imagine that you're trying to tilt your tailbone to the floor. So you're actively, openly lifting the rib cage as you sink the tail into the floor. Breathing deeply into the ribs, open them up towards the ceiling, out to the sides of the room. Now, depending on how high a position that you've come on to, I want you to first draw the knees in together. And then you can start to roll onto your side. Just take your time depending on how high up you've had to go. And then we're going to bring you back onto your knees. Now, this option to open up that segment of the back, you might decide that you want to use some blocks, but you might not necessarily need them. So we're going to take it into your puppy stretch. Using blocks at a bigger height just gives you a little bit more room to sink. So if you feel like whenever you do your puppy position, so hips above the knees, that you're trying to get those prominent ribs, the armpits, to sink to the floor. So if you feel like you get so far and you want a little bit more room to grow with that, then you need to pop your hands, again around about sort of hip to shoulder width apart, but you need to pop your hands onto a raised surface, whatever that is, whether it's a chair, whatever you've got, to try to help give you a little bit more room. And that will allow you a little bit more space to sink down. So this is definitely an active position. You can try to melt into it, but there needs to be some effort in through the arms. Try to let the hips go above the knees. If they go too far back, you're going to start to round through the lower back. And I want you to try to get that sense of lifting, like the tailbone is lifting into happy cat or cow, and those shoulder blades are sinking. And it is going to be an underarm stretch, but it's also aiming to open up that mid back. Those ribs that we've just opened up lying on the pillows or the blocks, those ribs are trying to be heavy, sinking to the floor. Taking those breaths, every time you take a deep in breath, it may rise you up away from the floor. And as you breathe out, can you actively let those shoulders sink and drop? Let the tailbone, maybe exaggerating that lift towards the ceiling. Can you allow the back to bend? And then slowly from there, start to press it a little bit down with the arms. Draw one arm underneath you and then the other. We're going to bring you into a Sphinx position. So bringing the hips onto the floor, having the elbows underneath the shoulders. And this is just going to be a little bit gentler. So you're gently supporting the position there. You're not collapsed through the shoulders, just that little push. I want you to push down with the upper arms and then pull back. So you're pulling the rib cage forwards. You're trying to almost lengthen your spine out of the pelvis. If you imagine the pelvis is a fixed point, it can't move. You're trying to pull those prominent ribs forwards on the mat. So it's continuing that bend around the lower thoracic area in the spine, around the lower shoulder blades. And if you feel that you want to make this one a little bit stronger, a little bit more active, then what you can do is reach the hands out a little bit further forwards. Now there's a lot of work in the arms, you're pressing down, but you're also pulling back. You're trying to pull your ribs forward on the mat, almost trying to press them down, but you're pulling them forwards. So if you find your back doesn't like this, you can stay with Sphinx, you can keep it more relaxed, but keeping that activity is going to make those underarms work. It's going to make those ribs pull further forward. It's going to make you bend in those lower shoulder blades area of the back. Breathing in, trying to find a little bit more length. Maybe you need to reach more with the arms. Maybe you want to stay with the elbows down so you get more kind of traction to pull further forwards. We're going to take just one more breath with this one. And as you breathe out, let the shoulders relax, let the head rest down onto the hands. And just allow the knees to bend up. And we're going to then just rock the feet from one side to the other. And as you rock them from side to side, let the hips roll. Let the ribs stay heavy. And then slowly centering through the legs. We're going to draw the hands underneath the shoulders. Take a deep breath in. And as you breathe out, press it back. We're going to take it into your cats. So just allowing that curl under. Growing tall through the arms, going tall through your spine. Tucking the tail under. And then coming into your happy cat or cow. So lifting the head just gently, lifting the tailbone, pulling those shoulder blades down your back. Take two more. Curl it under, rounding. And then finding that length. And again, curling it under, taking that last stretch. Big deep breath when you're there. And then as you breathe out, softening into that arch. And then we'll draw you into a comfortable seat. I hope you enjoyed that session and that you do feel like it has opened up the hips in through the quads and the hip flexors, the sides of the body, the back of the body, the chest. I hope it has opened up all those areas for you and that you do feel better for it. So just knowing that taking the time to put into a bit of stretching, a bit of mobility after whether it's a hard day, whether it's hard activity, exercise, whatever it is you're doing, it will help your body recover quicker. You just feel it. You feel it in the tissues. So if you like this session, feel free to do it again, but leave us a like and a comment and subscribe, because that way we ding you with a notification if you choose to of another video that has been added for you to enjoy. So hopefully we'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching.